The restaurant lights glowed softly against the December snowfall outside, but inside, Charlotte's world was collapsing in slow motion. She sat frozen at the edge of a linen-covered table in a charming Boston restaurant, unable to breathe as she stared at the empty chair across from her. The man she had been waiting for, her Christmas blind date, arranged by a well-meaning coworker, had walked in, taken one look at her, muttered an apology about not being ready, and left before she could even stand. Charlotte wasn't sure what hurt more, the humiliation or the way old wounds reopened, reminding her of every lonely Christmas she had ever lived through. Tears pooled in her eyes, trembling at the edge before spilling freely, despite her desperate attempt to hold them in. If you're watching right now, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, especially if you believe in kindness, second chances, and how a single moment can change an entire life. Charlotte tried wiping her face quickly, hoping no one noticed, but holiday gatherings surrounded her. Laughing couples, families taking pictures near the Christmas tree, and the soft hum of cheerful music that made her feel even more alone. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry tonight, promised she'd try at least once to let someone new into her life after years of holding herself back. But here she was, heartbroken in a room filled with celebration. The waiter walked past with an apologetic half-smile, trying not to stare. Charlotte lowered her gaze, feeling like she didn't belong anywhere. She wrapped her burgundy sweater tighter around herself like armor, but the ache in her chest only grew heavier. She whispered a small prayer, the same one she'd whispered every year since losing her parents in her early 20s, that God would send her someone, anyone, who could be family. Yet every holiday ended the same way, disappointment wrapped in tinsel. As she sat there trembling, trying to decide whether to leave or pretend to eat alone, a soft, hesitant hand touched her shoulder. It was so small, so gentle, that Charlotte startled slightly before turning around. A little girl stood beside her, 6, maybe 7 years old, with long honey-blonde curls and a red ribbon tied neatly in her hair. Her eyes were innocent, curious, yet filled with a sadness Charlotte recognized deeply. Before Charlotte could speak, the girl leaned closer, as if sharing a secret meant only for her. In the faintest whisper, trembling with sincerity, she said, "Can you be my mom?" The words pierced straight through Charlotte's chest, powerful and unexpected, as though the room itself froze around her. Behind the girl stood a man, mid-30s, tall, clean-cut, wearing a navy suit that fit too neatly to be accidental. His expression held apology, worry, and something surprisingly warm. He approached slowly, placing a steadying hand on the girl's shoulder. Charlotte blinked, stunned, wiping at her tears with her sleeve. The girl looked up at her with a seriousness far beyond her age, as though she had made a decision after observing something no one else could see. Her father, at least Charlotte assumed he was, leaned forward, his voice gentle though the story continues without using direct dialogue. He explained with his expression alone. He was a single father, navigating Christmas with a daughter who longed for a mother's presence, and perhaps the girl had misunderstood Charlotte's sadness as something she wanted to fix. Charlotte felt something shift inside her, not pity, not embarrassment, but a quiet, aching recognition. She saw in the girl's eyes a reflection of her own childhood longing, the yearning for someone to stay, to choose her, to never walk out. The little girl's face wasn't asking for charity. It was asking for connection. Charlotte found herself sitting up, breathing deeper, and for the first time that night, the crushing loneliness eased. The man gently guided his daughter to sit beside Charlotte and gave a small, hopeful smile. Charlotte realized he wasn't embarrassed by his daughter's question. He was grateful she approached someone who seemed as lost as they once were. The evening unfolded differently than Charlotte had imagined. Instead of running home to cry in the dark, she spent the rest of the dinner listening to soft laughter, watching a child excitedly talk about Christmas ornaments and how she wanted a star bigger than the tree itself. The man, whose name she learned was Jacob, shared pieces of their life with shy sincerity. After losing his wife 3 years earlier, Christmas had become both a beautiful memory and a painful reminder for his daughter Hannah. This year he had wanted to try something new, something hopeful, but had not expected Hannah to choose a stranger to share the night with. And yet, Charlotte didn't feel like a stranger. Not anymore. She watched Jacob interact with his daughter with gentle strength, the kind that came from loving someone through storms. And Hannah, with her innocent wisdom, filled the empty places in Charlotte's heart with every smile she offered. As desserts arrived, Charlotte realized she had stopped thinking about the man who abandoned her earlier. That rejection no longer mattered. Somehow, in a twist she couldn't explain, she had stumbled into the company of two people who made the room feel warmer, the night feel softer, and her life feel less empty. By the time dinner ended, the snow outside had thickened, falling in slow spirals like blessings. Jacob insisted on walking her to her car, not with romantic pressure, but with genuine care. Hannah held Charlotte's hand the entire way, swinging their arms lightly, as though she had known her for years. Charlotte paused beside her car, not wanting the night to end. Jacob gave her a look that was not rushed, not demanding, just quietly grateful. Charlotte's chest tightened with emotion she hadn't felt in years. Hannah tugged Charlotte's hand, leaning her head against Charlotte's arm in silent affection. And in that moment, Charlotte felt seen in a way she never had before. Chosen not by an adult trying to impress her, but by a child who simply felt her heart. The cold December air kissed her cheeks, but she barely noticed. What she felt was something she had prayed for a long time: belonging. The next week unfolded in ways Charlotte never expected. Jacob reached out, not awkwardly, but with gentle consistency. He didn't try to win her over. He simply let her know she mattered. They met again for hot chocolate, then again for a quiet walk through a snow-covered park, while Hannah ran ahead making tiny footprints. Charlotte found herself opening up about her past, about her Christmas loneliness, about her longing for a family she thought she'd never have. Jacob listened with the kind of patience only a man shaped by pain and faith could possess. Hannah simply hugged her every time she sensed Charlotte's voice soften. Days turned into a rhythm. And soon, Charlotte realized that the ache inside her was fading, replaced with something healing, something hopeful. It wasn't sudden love. It was something deeper, something that felt like God stitching broken hearts together in perfect timing. If this story is touching your heart so far, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories of kindness and hope alive. On Christmas Eve, after spending the evening decorating cookies and watching Hannah attempt to build a snowman that immediately collapsed, Jacob walked Charlotte to her car again. The world was quiet, lit only by holiday lights hanging from neighborhood homes. Charlotte hesitated before entering her car, because something in her heart whispered that she wasn't meant to drive away from them forever. Jacob's eyes softened as though he sensed it too. Hannah ran forward and wrapped her arms tightly around Charlotte's waist, whispering that same tender plea she had spoken on the night they met. But this time it wasn't a question. It was a hope. Charlotte hugged her back, tears warming her eyes. She whispered a silent prayer of gratitude for a blind date gone wrong, for a little girl's innocent courage, and for the unexpected miracle that had become her Christmas gift. Before this story ends, please comment below with the words, "Kindness can change lives." It helps more people see stories like this. Charlotte didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain as she watched Jacob and Hannah waving through the snow. She had not been left alone that night. She had been found by a little girl brave enough to love first, and by a man who recognized a blessing when it entered his life in tears. Sometimes, the family we dream of doesn't arrive when we expect it. Sometimes it finds us, right when our hearts feel most broken.